Nobody ever looked at Noluthando twice. Big black woman on a delivery bike, wearing sneakers and carrying food. She was part of Seoul's invisible workforce. She'd made peace with that. But peace was shattered the moment she heard a Senegalese delegate trying to explain shipping routes in French, while a panicked translator made mistakes that would cost someone millions of won. She could have walked away. She'd quit caring about other people's problems 3 years ago, when life taught her that caring only brought pain. Except this time, walking away meant watching something completely preventable destroy itself. So she knocked. She spoke. And the Korean man with intelligent eyes and a desperate hope on his face offered her more money than she'd ever imagined, just to stay for 2 more hours. Noluthando kicked her bike stand down and grabbed the insulated bags from the back. 3 lunch orders for the Grand Lotus Hotel, room 402. She checked her phone. 12 minutes early. Perfect. The security guard at the delivery entrance barely looked at her. She was used to that. Big black woman on a delivery bike. Nobody ever looked twice. Sometimes that was a blessing. She took the service elevator up, humming a song her mother used to sing back in Harare. The hotel smelled like expensive soap and fresh flowers. Her sneakers squeaked on the marble as she walked down the hallway looking for the right room. That's when she heard the shouting. Not angry shouting, more like panicked, coming from behind a large wooden door marked Conference Room B. Noluthando slowed down. This wasn't her business. She had learned that lesson the hard way in Seoul. Keep your head down, deliver the food, collect your money, go home. But then she heard it. A man speaking broken French, trying to explain something about shipping routes. Another man responding in worse French, clearly confused. A third voice in English, saying, "No, that's not what he means." Noluthando winced. Oh, that was bad. The English translator had just made it worse. She stood there, bags in hand, listening. The French speaker was from Senegal. She could tell by his accent. He was trying to say the shipment would arrive on the 15th, but the translator kept saying 50, completely different meaning. "This is a disaster," someone said in perfect Korean. Male voice, calm but tight, like he was holding back frustration. "Where is Kim? Where is anyone who can actually help us?" "Sir, the subway is down. There was an accident near Gangnam Station. Nobody can get through. Traffic is completely stuck. We have delegates from 6 countries in this building right now. We have exactly 2 hours to finalize these agreements, and nobody can understand each other." Noluthando bit her lip. "Not your problem," she told herself. "Walk away." The French speaker tried again. This time, the translator told the Korean businessman that the shipment would be late by 50 days, instead of arriving on the 15th day of the month. She heard chairs scraping, voices getting louder. Oh, for heaven's sake. Noluthando knocked on the door. Silence inside. She knocked again. The door swung open. A young man in a crisp white shirt stared at her. "Delivery entrance is downstairs. You're not supposed to be on this floor." "I have your lunch order," Noluthando said in Korean. "Room 402, but I think maybe you're in here." "We didn't order food." "Someone did. Name is Park." The young man looked annoyed. "Fine, leave it outside." "Wait," Noluthando said. She couldn't believe she was doing this. The man speaking French? He's trying to say the shipment arrives on the 15th. Not 50. Not 50 days late. He means the 15th day of this month. Every person in that room turned to look at her. There were about 12 people inside, sitting around a huge table covered in documents and laptops. Right at the head of the table sat a man who made Noluthando forget what she was going to say next. Not because he was handsome, though he was. Not because he looked important, though he clearly was. It was his eyes, sharp, intelligent, and right now completely focused on her. "What did you say?" he asked in Korean. "The translation is wrong," Noluthando replied, still in Korean. "The French speaker, he's from West Africa, Senegal, I think. He's saying quinze, which is 15, but your translator keeps hearing 50, which is 50. Easy mistake if you're not used to the accent." The man at the head of the table stood up slowly. "You speak French?" "Yes." "Say that again to him, in French." Noluthando looked at the Senegalese delegate and switched languages. "Excuse me, sir. You were saying the shipment arrives on the 15th of this month, correct? Not the 50th day?" The man's face lit up. "Yes. Yes, exactly. Finally, someone who understands. She turned to the Korean businessman and translated properly. His expression didn't change much, but something flickered in his eyes. Relief, maybe. "Who are you?" he asked. "Nobody. Just delivering lunch." "You're clearly not nobody." Before Noluthando could respond, another delegate started speaking rapidly in Swahili, frustrated and ready to leave. He was saying the whole meeting was a waste of time, that he was going back to Tanzania, that these people couldn't even get basic facts straight. "Wait," Noluthando said in Swahili. "Please wait. There was just a confusion with the French translation. The Korean businessman here, he actually agrees with your terms. The problem is just the interpreters couldn't get here today because of the subway accident." The Tanzanian delegate stared at her. "You speak Swahili?" "Yes, sir." "Where are you from?" "Zimbabwe." He broke into a huge smile and started asking her about home, about Harare, about her family. Noluthando answered politely, very aware that everyone else in the room was watching her, like she had just performed a magic trick. The Korean businessman came around the table. Up close, he was younger than she'd thought, maybe mid-30s. He moved, like someone used to being in charge. "I'm Su Do-hyun," he said in English. "Noluthando Maseko," she replied, also in English. "How many languages do you speak, Miss Maseko?" "5. "Which 5? "English, Korean, French, Swahili, and Amharic." One of the other Korean men at the table laughed. Not a nice laugh. A delivery woman who speaks 5 languages? What is this, a joke? Noluthando felt her face get hot. There it was. She'd been stupid to open her mouth. "Thank you for the correction," she said quietly, backing toward the door. "Your food is outside. Enjoy your lunch." "Wait," Duhan said. Not loud, but firm. "Don't leave. I have other deliveries. I'll pay you for your time. I really need to go. Please." There was something in that word. Not begging exactly, but close. This man, who clearly wasn't used to asking for anything, was asking her. The young man who'd opened the door said, "Sir, we can't just hire some random delivery person for an international negotiation." "Why not?" Duhayon asked. "She's already done a better job than the professionals we hired. We don't know anything about her. We know she speaks 5 languages, and she's the only person in this building right now who can help us." He turned back to Noluthando. 2 hours. Help me get through this meeting. Name your price." Noluthando's phone buzzed. 3 more deliveries waiting. Her boss hated when she was late, but 2 hours of translation work would pay more than 2 weeks of delivery shifts. "How much?" she asked. 500,000 won. Her eyes went wide. That was nearly $400. For 2 hours? "Each hour," Duhayan added. 1 million won total? Noluthando asked, just to be sure she heard right. "Yes." Someone in the room sucked in a breath. The rude Korean man from before said, "That's excessive." Duhyun didn't even look at him. "Do we have an agreement, Miss Maseko?" Every instinct told Noluthando to say no. Rich men offering lots of money, things that sounded too good to be true, they always came with strings attached. She'd learned that the hard way. But 1 million won would cover her rent for 2 months. She could send money home to her sister. She could finally fix her bike's broken headlight. "I need to tell my boss I'll be late," she said. "Use my phone." Duhain offered his cell. "I have my own phone." She stepped into the hallway and called Mr. Kim, her delivery supervisor. He yelled at her for a full minute about responsibility and punctuality. She let him finish, then quit. Just like that. She'd been wanting to quit that job for 3 months anyway. When she came back into the conference room, Duhan was reorganizing the seating. "Miss Maseko will sit here, between the delegates. She'll do real-time translation for us." "This is highly irregular," one of the Korean executives muttered. "So is hiring interpreters who can't navigate a subway closure," Duhyun replied smoothly. "Shall we begin?" Before you find out what happens next, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button if you're enjoying this story so far. It really helps us know you want more stories like this one. Alright, let's continue. The next 2 hours were the most intense work Noluthando had done in 3 years. A delegate from France would make a point about distribution networks. She'd translate to Korean, for Do-hyun and his team. Then someone from Ethiopia would respond in Amharic about port access. She'd switch languages, Explain the context. Make sure the meaning came through clearly. Then the Tanzanian delegate would add something in Swahili about shipping schedules, and she'd translate that too. Her brain felt like it was sprinting, but it was a good feeling, like muscles she'd forgotten she had were waking up. Duhan asked questions in Korean. She'd translate them into whichever language was needed. When the French delegate made a joke, she made sure to translate it properly so everyone could laugh. When the Ethiopian representative quoted a proverb, she explained the cultural meaning behind it. Slowly, the tension in the room dissolved. Agreements that had been stuck for weeks suddenly moved forward, not because the terms changed, but because people finally understood each other clearly. At one point, the Senegalese delegate said something about contract terms that the French delegate disagreed with. They started arguing in French, getting louder and faster. One of the Korean executives looked panicked. What are they saying? They're actually agreeing, Noluthando said calmly. This is just how they debate. Give them a minute. Sure enough, 30 seconds later both men were shaking hands and laughing. Du-hyun was watching her. She could feel his eyes on her every time she translated, every time she navigated a tricky phrase or cultural difference. It didn't make her nervous exactly, but it made her aware of herself in a way she didn't quite like. When the 2 hours were up, every major point had been settled. The delegates stood up smiling, shaking hands, exchanging contact information. The Tanzanian man hugged Noluthando and told her she had to visit Dar es Salaam someday. The Ethiopian representative gave her his card and said if she ever needed anything to call him. As the room cleared out, Du-hyun's assistant, the young man in the white shirt, approached her. I apologize for earlier. I underestimated you. Most people do, Noluthando said. I'm used to it. Still, it was rude. She shrugged. It's fine. Du-hyun came over holding an envelope. Your payment. I added a bonus. That wasn't necessary. You saved deals worth hundreds of millions of won. It's necessary. Noluthando took the envelope and peeked inside. He'd given her 1.5 million won instead of 1 million. This is too much, she started to say. It's not enough, Du-hyun interrupted. Miss Maseko, I have another proposal. Here it comes, she thought. The strings. I need someone with your skills on my team, permanently. I'm not looking for permanent work. Why not? Personal reasons. The pay would be excellent. Better than delivery work, certainly. I like delivery work. Nobody bothers me. I'm outside all day. I'm my own boss. You just quit your delivery job. I'll find another one. Du-hyun tilted his head slightly. You're deliberately working below your skill level. Why? That's really none of your business, Noluthando said, trying to keep her voice polite. You're right. I apologize. He pulled out a business card. But if you change your mind, call me, even for temporary work. I have a feeling I'll need you again. She took the card, just to be polite. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. CO. Du-hyun is fine. Mr. CO is more appropriate. The corner of his mouth lifted. Almost a smile. Formal and cautious, smart. Survival skills, Noluthando corrected. In Seoul? Everywhere. She bowed slightly, the polite Korean way, and headed for the door. Miss Maseko, he called after her. She turned. You have a gift. It's rare. I hope you're not wasting it. The words hit harder than they should have. She left without responding. Outside the hotel, Noluthando sat on her delivery bike for a long moment, just breathing. Her hands were shaking slightly. Not from nervousness, from adrenaline. She'd forgotten what it felt like to use her brain like that, to be good at something, and have people recognize it. It had been 3 years since she'd done any real translation work. 3 years since she'd walked away from her graduate program in linguistics. 3 years since her father had called and said her younger sister was sick, the medical bills were piling up, and he needed money immediately. She'd dropped everything, sold her textbooks, broke her lease, took the first paying job she could find, because that's what you did for family. But sitting there outside that fancy hotel, holding enough money to cover 2 months of rent, Noluthando let herself wonder for just a second. What if? Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. This is CO Do-hyun's assistant, Kang Min-jun. Mr. CO would like to know if you're available Thursday afternoon for another interpretation session. 3 hours maximum. Same rate as today. Noluthando stared at the message. She should say no. She should find a new delivery job, keep her head down, stay out of the world of rich businessmen and international deals. But Thursday's session would be another $1.5 million won, maybe more with a bonus. Her sister needed surgery next month. Her father was too proud to ask for more money, but she knew the farm was struggling. She typed back, "What time on Thursday?" The reply came instantly, 2 p.m., same location. Dress code is business casual. Business casual. Noluthando almost laughed. The nicest thing she owned was a black dress she wore to church sometimes. She'd have to figure something out. Thursday came faster than expected. Noluthando stood outside the Grand Lotus Hotel, wearing the black dress, a cardigan she'd borrowed from her roommate, and the same sneakers as before. She'd tried to find affordable dress shoes but gave up. Sneakers would have to do. The security guard recognized her this time. Delivery? Meeting. His eyebrows went up, but he waved her through. This time she took the main elevator, not the service one. A couple got in on the 3rd floor, took one look at her, and moved to the far corner. She pretended not to notice. Conference room B was already full when she arrived, but these weren't international delegates. These were all Korean businessmen, about 20 of them, and they all turned to stare when she walked in. Do-hyun was standing at the front. He nodded at her. "Miss Masako, thank you for coming. You said 2 p.m. You're punctual. I appreciate that." He gestured to the room. "Change of plans. Today isn't interpretation. It's more of an introduction." Noluthando's stomach dropped. Introduction. "These are my department heads and senior executives. I wanted them to meet you before we proceed." "Proceed with what?" "Your employment contract." "I didn't agree to a contract." "Not yet," Do-hyun said calmly, "but I'm optimistic." One of the older men at the table cleared his throat. "Mr. CO, with respect, this seems premature. We know nothing about this woman. You know she speaks 5 languages fluently and saved us from a major contract disaster on Monday. What else do you need to know? Her education, her background, her references." Do-han looked at Noluthando. "May I share your credentials?" She hadn't given him her credentials. He saw her expression and smiled slightly. "I had Min-jun do some research. I hope you don't mind." She minded very much, but didn't say so. Do-han addressed the room. Noluthando Maseko graduated top of her class from the University of Zimbabwe with a degree in linguistics. She completed 2 years of a graduate program in translation and interpretation at Hankook University before withdrawing for personal reasons. She's been in Seoul for 3 years total. "Why did she withdraw?" someone asked. "Personal reasons," Do-hyun repeated. "Which are her business. If we're hiring her for a sensitive position, it becomes our business." Noluthando spoke up. "Family emergency. I needed to work full-time. That's all." "What kind of emergency?" "The personal kind," she said firmly. A woman near the back, older with sharp eyes, said, "You worked delivery for 3 years, instead of using your degree. Why?" "Delivery jobs don't ask many questions. They pay weekly. I could send money home right away." "Where is home?" "Zimbabwe." "You send money back to Zimbabwe every week?" "Every month." The woman nodded slowly, like this confirmed something. "Family obligations." "Yes." One of the younger executives leaned forward. "Can you prove you speak all 5 languages?" Do-hyun's jaw tightened. "She already proved that on Monday." "I wasn't there Monday. I'd like to hear for myself." Noluthando looked at Do-hyun. He nodded slightly. She took a breath and spoke in English first. "My name is Noluthando Maseko. I'm 28 years old, and I've been living in Seoul for 3 years. Then French. I learned French in school, because Zimbabwe was surrounded by French-speaking countries. Then Swahili. I learned Swahili from my grandmother, who grew up in Tanzania. Then Amharic. I taught myself Amharic during university, because I loved the way it sounded. Finally, Korean. And I learned Korean by living here and refusing to only speak English." The room was silent. The young executive sat back. "That's impressive." "It's necessary," Noluthando corrected. "Languages aren't a party trick. They're survival." The sharp-eyed woman smiled. "I like her." "With respect, Director Choi, liking her isn't the issue," one of the older men said. "This is a highly sensitive organization. We deal with confidential international contracts. We can't just bring in someone from off the street." She's not from the street, Du Haiyan said. His voice was still calm, but something in it made everyone pay attention. She's a highly qualified professional who's been underemployed because she had to prioritize immediate income over career development. That doesn't make her less qualified. It makes her pragmatic. It also means she has financial pressures, the older man countered. Financial pressures make people vulnerable to bribes. Noluthando felt her face burn. I'm standing right here. If you have questions about my integrity, ask me directly. The man turned to her. Fine. If someone offered you 10 million won to share confidential information, would you take it? No. 20 million? No. Everyone has a price. Then I guess you and I are different. Someone snorted, trying to hide a laugh. The older man's face reddened. Mr. Seo, I strongly advise against this hire. Noted, Du Haiyan said. Anyone else have concerns? Director Choi spoke up. What's the proposed position? International Communications Specialist. She'd handle all interpretation and translation for our overseas contracts. Salary? Negotiable. Travel requirements? Occasional. Most meetings are here in Seoul. Director Choi looked at Noluthando. Would you be willing to sign a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement? Yes. Would you be willing to undergo a background check? Yes. Would you be willing to take language proficiency tests administered by an independent agency? Yes. The director smiled. Then I don't see the problem. 3 other people at the table nodded in agreement. The older man who'd questioned her stood up. This is a mistake. Mark my words. Bringing in an outsider, with no loyalty to this organization, will backfire. He walked out. Awkward silence. Du Haiyan didn't seem bothered. Anyone else? No one moved. Good. Miss Maseko, would you mind waiting outside for a few minutes? I need to discuss terms with my team. Noluthando went to the hallway and sat on a bench, her heart racing. What was she doing? This wasn't the plan. The plan was to keep her head down, work simple jobs, send money home, stay invisible. Taking a job with whatever organization this was, that was the opposite of invisible. And what kind of business was this anyway? International contracts, confidential negotiations, all these serious executives. It felt bigger than a normal company. The door opened. Min Jun, the assistant, poked his head out. He wants to see you. Just you and him. She went back in. The room was empty except for Do-hyun, sitting at the big table with a folder in front of him. They're gone? She asked. I sent them out. I want to talk to you privately. Noluthando sat down, leaving 2 chairs between them. Du Haiyan slid the folder across. This is the contract we're proposing. Base salary of 70 million won per year, paid monthly. Benefits include health insurance, housing stipend, and performance bonuses. Standard non-disclosure and non-compete clauses. 70 million won. That was almost 60,000 US dollars. More money than Noluthando had ever imagined making. That's too much, she said. It's market rate for someone with your skills. You don't even know if I'm good at this long term. You've seen me work once. Once was enough. What if I mess up? Then we'll deal with it. But I don't think you will. Noluthando opened the folder and scanned the contract. It looked legitimate. Standard employment terms, clear expectations. Nothing hidden. Too good to be true, her instincts screamed. What's the catch? She asked. No catch. There's always a catch. Du-hyun leaned back in his chair. You want honesty? Please. This organization handles international business. Some of it is completely legal. Some of it exists in gray areas. Nothing violent, nothing that harms people, but not everything would stand up to intense government scrutiny. I need someone I can trust with sensitive information. Someone smart enough to understand context and discreet enough to keep their mouth shut. There it was. The truth. You're asking me to help you do illegal things, Noluthando said. I'm asking you to translate conversations. What people choose to do with those conversations is their business. That's a convenient way to avoid responsibility. Maybe, but it's also reality. She should walk away. She knew she should. Why me? She asked instead. You could hire professional interpreters who already work in these gray areas. Professional interpreters talk. They're hired by multiple clients. They hear things. They make connections. I need someone loyal to me specifically. You don't know if I'm loyal. Not yet, but I'm willing to take the risk if you are. Noluthando looked at the contract again. 70 million won per year. She could pay for her sister's surgery. She could send her father enough money to save the farm. She could maybe even go back and finish her graduate degree someday. All she had to do was compromise her principles just a little bit. I need time to think, she said. Take the weekend. Call me Monday with your decision. She stood up to leave. Miss Maseko, Do-hyun said. She turned. For what it's worth, I think you'd be excellent at this job. And I promise you wouldn't regret working for me. That was exactly what she was afraid of. That weekend, Noluthando didn't sleep much. She kept looking at the contract Do-hyun had let her take home. 70 million won. The number felt fake, like it would disappear if she looked away too long. Her roommate Maya, a teacher from the Philippines, knocked on her bedroom door Sunday night. You okay? You've been weird all weekend. I got a job offer. That's good, right? Better than the delivery thing? Much better. Too much better. Maya came in and sat on the bed. What's wrong with too good? Doesn't it seem suspicious? A guy I just met offers me more money than I've ever made, just for translating? You speak 5 languages, Nolu. That's valuable. But what if he wants more than translation? Did he say anything inappropriate? No. He was completely professional. Did he look at you weird? No. Then maybe he just needs a translator, and you're qualified. Why is that hard to believe? Noluthando flopped back on her pillow. Because good things don't just happen to me. That's sad, and you should work on that, Maya said. But also, maybe it's time to let good things happen. You've been punishing yourself for 3 years. I'm not punishing myself. You took a job where people treat you like you're invisible. You work twice as hard as anyone else for half the respect. If that's not punishment, I don't know what is. Noluthando didn't have an answer for that. Monday morning, she called the number on Do-hyun's card. He answered on the second ring. Miss Maseko. How did you know it was me? I was hoping it would be. What's your decision? She took a breath. I'll take the job. 3-month trial period. If either of us isn't happy after 3 months, I walk away with no hard feelings. Agreed. Can you start Wednesday? Wednesday? That's 2 days away. We have a meeting with Chinese investors Thursday. I need you prepared. What kind of preparation? Min-jun will send you the briefing documents today. Read everything. Memorize the key players. Understand the context. We'll do a practice run Wednesday afternoon. I don't speak Chinese. The investors speak English, but they also bring Korean and French translators who sometimes make convenient mistakes. I need you to catch those mistakes. Oh, so it was that kind of meeting. Understood, Noluthando said. Welcome to the team, Miss Maseko. He hung up before she could respond. 2 hours later, Min-jun sent her 23 pages of briefing documents. Noluthando read them all twice, made notes, highlighted important sections. By Tuesday night, she had the key points memorized. Wednesday afternoon, she showed up at a different building. Not the fancy hotel this time, but a regular office building in Gangnam. 10th floor, suite 1003. The door had no company name on it, just the number. Inside, it looked like any modern office. Desks, computers, people working quietly. Except everyone stopped and stared when she walked in. Min-jun appeared immediately. Miss Maseko, welcome. Let me show you to your office. I have an office? Of course. He led her down a hallway to a small room with a desk, computer, and a window that looked out over the street. Nothing fancy, but it was clean and private. This is mine? Noluthando asked. Yes. Computer password is on the sticky note. You'll need to change it after first login. Do you need anything? Coffee? Tea? I'm fine, thank you. Mr. CO wants to see you at 3. Conference room at the end of the hall. Min-jun left. Noluthando sat at her desk and looked around her office. Her office. She'd never had an office before. The computer had translation software already installed. Professional-grade programs that cost thousands of dollars. There were reference books on the shelf, dictionaries in all 5 of her languages plus 3 more. Someone had prepared this space specifically for her. At 3 exactly, she went to the conference room. Do-hyun was there with 3 other people. He gestured for her to sit. Miss Maseko, thank you for being punctual. These are my senior advisors. We're going to run through tomorrow's meeting so you know what to expect." For the next 2 hours, they practiced. Someone would play the Chinese investor, someone else would play the translator, and they'd deliberately mistranslate something small. Noluthando's job was to catch it. The first few times, she missed the mistakes. They were subtle, changing a word here or there that shifted the meaning just slightly. But by the 10th run-through, she was catching everything. "Good," Du Hayan said. "Tomorrow, don't interrupt, just write down anything suspicious and show me during breaks. What if it's something urgent? Use your judgment. If the whole deal is about to collapse, speak up. If it's small, wait." Understood. One of the advisors, an older woman Noluthando recognized from the previous meeting as Director Choi, said, "You learn fast." "I'm motivated," Noluthando replied. "Money?" "Rent, actually, and my sister's medical bills." Director Choi nodded approvingly. "Honest, I like that." The meeting ended at 5. Noluthando gathered her notes to leave. "Miss Maseko," Du Hayan said. "A moment." The others filed out. They were alone. "How are you feeling about tomorrow?" he asked. "Nervous." "Good. Nervous people pay attention. What if I mess up? Then we adjust. But I don't think you will." He said that with such certainty, like he could see something in her that she couldn't see in herself. "Why do you trust me?" Noluthando asked. "You barely know me." Du Hayan considered the question. "I'm good at reading people. It's how I've survived this long. And when I met you, I saw someone who's smarter than she pretends to be, more capable than anyone gives her credit for, and too honest for her own good. Those are exactly the qualities I need." "Too honest for my own good?" "You could have lied about your background, made up credentials, but you didn't. You told the truth, even when it made you look bad. The truth always comes out eventually." "Exactly, so why not start with it?" Noluthando smiled despite herself. "You sound like my grandmother." "Is that a compliment?" "The highest one I know." Something shifted in his expression. Warmer, less guarded. "Then I'll take it." Thursday's meeting went better than Noluthando expected. The Chinese investors arrived with an interpreter who spoke Korean. But 3 times during the negotiation, the interpreter changed small details that would have benefited the Chinese side. Noluthando caught all 3. She wrote them down and slid the paper to Du-hyun during the lunch break. He read her notes, his face unreadable. Then he went back into the meeting and politely confronted the discrepancies. The Chinese investors looked shocked, had a heated discussion with their interpreter in Mandarin, and apologized. The rest of the meeting was perfectly honest. Afterward, Do-hyun found Noluthando in her office. "Excellent work. I just wrote down what I heard. You saved us about 40 million won in that contract. I'd say that's more than just writing things down." He put an envelope on her desk. "What's this?" she asked. "Bonus, first successful assignment." She opened it. 5 million won. "This is too much," she started. "It's 5% of what you saved us. Standard performance bonus. Get used to it." He left before she could argue. Noluthando stared at the envelope. 5 million won, just like that. She could send half to her father, keep half for emergencies, or maybe buy some actual work clothes so she didn't have to keep borrowing from Maya. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Congratulations on your first day. Heard you impressed everyone. If you ever want to work for a real organization, call me." A phone number followed. No name. Noluthando deleted the message and blocked the number. But it bothered her. How did they know about her first day? How did they get her personal number? She mentioned it to Min Jun the next morning. His face went serious. "Someone from a rival group, probably. Do you still have the message?" "I deleted it." "If it happens again, don't delete. Show Mr. Seo immediately." "It's that serious? You work for us now. That makes you a target for recruitment. Some groups are more aggressive than others about it." Great. Just what she needed. The first month passed in a blur. Noluthando worked on 6 different international negotiations. She caught mistranslations, cultural misunderstandings, and 2 attempts at deliberate deception. Du Haehyun's trust in her seemed to grow with each success. But not everyone was happy about it. There was an executive named Director Park, the older man who'd walked out of her interview. He made his disapproval clear at every opportunity. In meetings, He'd question her translations. Are you sure that's what they said? Yes, Director Park. It seems unlikely. I can play back the recording if you'd like to verify. He never took her up on that offer, but he never stopped questioning her either. Other staff members were subtly hostile. They'd speak too fast in Korean, then act surprised when she kept up. They'd leave her out of lunch groups. One woman made a comment about how the office dress code was apparently optional now, looking pointedly at Noluthando's simple clothes. She ignored most of it. She'd dealt with worse. But it wore on her. 3 weeks in, she was working late on a translation document when Do Hae-han knocked on her office door. "You're still here," he said. "Deadline tomorrow." "The deadline is flexible. I prefer to finish early." He came in and sat in the chair across from her desk. "How are you adjusting?" "Fine." "You're a terrible liar." Noluthando looked up. "Excuse me?" "I've noticed the cold shoulders, the comments. I can address it if you want." "Please don't." "Why not?" "Because then I'm the person who can't handle herself and needs the boss to fight her battles. It'll make everything worse." Do Hae-han frowned. "They shouldn't be treating you that way. They're protecting their territory. I'm an outsider who got fast-tracked into a position most of them worked years to approach. Of course they resent me. That doesn't make it acceptable." "No, but it makes it understandable." He was quiet for a moment. "You're more forgiving than I'd be. I'm practical. Fighting people I have to work with every day sounds exhausting. So what's your strategy? Do excellent work. Be professional. Wait for them to get used to me. And if they don't," Noluthando shrugged, "then I'll still have done excellent work and been professional. That's all I can control." Du Hyeon smiled. "My grandmother would have liked you." Past tense? She passed away 5 years ago. I'm sorry. She was the one who taught me that respect isn't given, it's earned. Sounds like you learned the same lesson. My grandmother is still teaching me. She calls every Sunday to make sure I'm going to church and eating vegetables. Are you going to church and eating vegetables? Church. Yes. Vegetables sometimes. Honest answer. You said you value honesty. I do. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Do Hae-han stood. "Go home, Miss Maseko. The translation can wait until tomorrow. I'm almost done. That's an order from your boss. You're very bossy for someone who claims to value honesty and independence." He laughed. Actually laughed. It changed his whole face. Made him look younger. "Fair point. I'm making a suggestion, not an order. But you've been here since 7 this morning. Rest is important." "Fine. I'll finish this paragraph and leave." "Good enough." He walked to the door, then paused. "Noluthando?" It was the first time he'd used her first name. It sounded different in his voice, careful and intentional. "Yes?" "You're doing really well. I know it's not easy, but you're handling it with grace. I wanted you to know, I notice." He left before she could respond. Noluthando sat very still, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. "No," she told herself firmly. "Absolutely not. He's your boss. He's rich and powerful and lives in a completely different world. This is a job, just a job." But her heart wasn't listening. By week 6, things started to shift. A negotiation with French distributors went sideways when their representatives started yelling about disrespect. Everyone in the room panicked except Noluthando. She calmly explained to Do Hyun that the Frenchman wasn't actually angry. He was from Marseille, and this was just how people from Marseille communicated passionately. She advised everyone to stay calm and let him finish. Sure enough, after his speech, the Frenchman smiled and said, "Now that we've cleared the air, let's make a deal." Director Choi pulled Noluthando aside afterward. "How did you know he wasn't genuinely angry?" "Body language, tone, regional dialect. People from different parts of France express themselves differently. I studied regional variations in grad school. That level of detail isn't in any of our briefing documents." "I know. I can write better ones if you want." Director Choi stared at her. "You want to improve our intelligence briefings? They're good, but they focus on business history. Cultural context is just as important for negotiations. Show me a sample." Noluthando spent the weekend creating detailed cultural briefings for the 5 countries they dealt with most. She included communication styles, negotiation preferences, business etiquette, even which topics to avoid in small talk. Monday morning, Director Choi read them and immediately took them to Do-hyun. That afternoon, Noluthando was called to his office. "Director Choi showed me your briefings," Do-hyun said. "I hope that's okay. I probably should have asked permission first. They're exceptional. This is exactly the kind of intelligence we need. Thank you. I want you to create these for every country we work with. I'll have Min-jun get you the list." "That's a lot of extra work. I'll adjust your salary. Another 10 million per year. 80 million won total now." Noluthando felt dizzy. "You don't have to do that," she said. "You're providing value beyond your original job description. You should be compensated for it." "Then, thank you. There's something else." Do-hyun leaned back in his chair. "We're hosting an international summit in 2 weeks. Delegates from 8 countries. 3 days of negotiations. I want you to lead the interpretation team." "Lead? But I've only been here 6 weeks. You're better than anyone else I have. The others won't like reporting to me. The others will do their jobs or find new ones." He said it so simply, like it was obvious. "I don't want to create more problems," Noluthando said carefully. "You're not creating problems. You're solving them. There's a difference. Before you find out what happens at this summit, I need to ask you something. Are you enjoying this story? Drop a comment and let me know what you think is going to happen next. I love reading your predictions." Okay, back to the story. The next 2 weeks were intense. Noluthando coordinated with 4 other translators, created briefing documents for all 8 countries, and prepared contingency plans for every possible communication breakdown. She worked 12-hour days. Do-hyun did too, and they often ended up being the last 2 people in the office. One night, close to midnight, he found her asleep at her desk. "Noluthando," he said gently. She jerked awake. "Sorry, I wasn't sleeping. You were exhausted. Come on, I'll drive you home. I can take the subway. The subway stopped running an hour ago. Then I'll get a taxi. I'm offering you a ride." "Why is that difficult?" "Because being alone in a car with you sounds dangerous for my ability to maintain professional boundaries," Noluthando thought but didn't say. "It's out of your way," she said instead. "You don't know where I live." "You probably live somewhere nice in Gangnam. I live in Nausum. That's absolutely out of your way." "I don't mind." She was too tired to argue. "Fine, thank you." His car was nice but not flashy. Clean, comfortable, smelled like coffee. He drove carefully, not fast and aggressive like a lot of Seoul drivers. They didn't talk much. Noluthando gave directions and looked out the window. When they reached her building, old and paint-chipped but clean, Do-hyun said, "This is it? Don't start." "I wasn't going to say anything. You were thinking it. I was thinking you should live somewhere with better security. This building has security. Mr. Kim downstairs. He's 70 and deaf in one ear, but he's very dedicated." Do-hyun smiled. "Still, the company offers housing stipends. You should use yours. I like my neighborhood. My roommate is here. My church is 2 blocks away." "Understood." She got out of the car. "Thank you for the ride." "Noluthando," he said. She ducked her head back in. "Yes? You're going to do great at the summit. Stop worrying." "I'm not worried. You're a terrible liar, remember?" She smiled despite herself. "Good night, Mr. CO. Do-hyun. That's still not appropriate. We're not in the office. You're still my boss." "Fair enough. Good night, Miss Masiko." She watched him drive away before going inside. Maya was still awake, marking papers in the living room. "Was that a man who just dropped you off?" "My boss." "Your boss drives you home at midnight?" "I fell asleep at work. He offered a ride." Maya grinned. "Is he handsome?" "That's irrelevant." "So yes. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Your face said it." Noluthando threw a couch pillow at her. "I'm going to bed." "You like him?" "I like my paycheck, that's all." But lying in bed, Noluthando couldn't stop thinking about the way Do-hyun had said her name. Gently, like it mattered. "Stop it," she told herself. "He's being nice because you work hard. That's all this is." Still, it had been a long time since anyone had been that kind to her. The summit started on a Wednesday. 8 countries, 27 delegates, 3 days of complex negotiations about shipping routes and distribution networks. Noluthando coordinated everything. She assigned translators to specific languages, set up the schedule, prepared materials. When the French translator called in sick the morning of day 1, she covered French herself while managing the rest of the team. Du Heian watched her handle it all with calm efficiency. She caught him staring once and raised an eyebrow. He just smiled and turned back to his conversation. Everything went smoothly until day 2. A delegate from Kenya and a delegate from South Africa got into an argument about territorial distribution. Both were speaking English, but the South African's accent was thick and the Kenyan kept misunderstanding him. The argument escalated. Voices got loud. Noluthando stepped in. "Gentlemen, excuse me. I think there's a comprehension issue." "I understand him perfectly fine," the Kenyan delegate snapped. "He's trying to cut us out of the eastern routes." "I'm doing no such thing," the South African replied hotly. "May I?" Noluthando asked. When both men nodded, she turned to the South African. "Can you repeat your proposal, but slowly?" He did. Noluthando listened carefully, then explained to the Kenyan delegate exactly what was being offered, clarifying the accent and the terms. The Kenyan's expression changed. "Oh, that's completely different from what I thought," he said. "Regional accents can be tricky," Noluthando said diplomatically. "I apologize," the Kenyan said to the South African. "I misunderstood." They shook hands. The negotiation continued. During the break, Director Park cornered Noluthando. "That was a lucky save. Thank you. Don't let it go to your head. You're still very inexperienced." "I'm aware. Mr. Seo favors you, but favor doesn't last. Performance does." "Then I'll keep performing." He walked away looking annoyed that she hadn't been intimidated. Director Choi appeared at her elbow. "Don't mind him. He's bitter because his nephew applied for your position and didn't get it." "His nephew?" "Yes. Park thinks this job should have gone to family. He takes your success as a personal insult." "That's not my problem." "No, but it's something to be aware of. Park is influential. He could make your life difficult if he wanted to." "More difficult than it already is?" Director Choi laughed. "Fair point. But seriously, watch your back. Not everyone here wants you to succeed." That night, Noluthando was gathering her materials when Do Hyun approached. "Dinner? Excuse me? You haven't eaten since breakfast. The negotiations go until 9 tomorrow. You need food. I'll grab something on the way home. There's a good restaurant 2 blocks from here. My treat." "That's not necessary." "Necessary? No. But I'm hungry, and eating alone is boring. Come with me." It wasn't really a question. They ended up at a small Korean barbecue place, the kind where you cook your own meat at the table. It was busy and loud, the opposite of fancy. "I thought you'd pick somewhere expensive," Noluthando said. "Why? You're rich. Rich people like cheap food too. This place has the best pork belly in Seoul." He was right. The food was incredible. They talked about the summit, about translation challenges, about cultural differences. Du Heian asked about her family. She told him about her sister's illness, her father's farm, her grandmother's Sunday phone calls. "You're sending most of your salary home, aren't you?" he asked. "Not most. About half." "That's generous. That's family." "Still, you should keep more for yourself." "I keep enough." "Do you?" He gestured at her clothes, which were the same basic black pants and blouse she wore most days. "When's the last time you bought something you wanted instead of needed?" "I don't really want anything. Everyone wants something." Noluthando thought about it. "I'd like to go back to school someday, finish my graduate degree." "Why don't you?" "No time. No money for tuition. The company has a continuing education program. We'll pay for employees to take classes." "Really?" "Really. Talk to HR. They'll set it up." Her chest felt tight. "Why are you so nice to me?" Du Hyun looked surprised. "I'm not particularly nice. I'm just treating you fairly." "Same thing." "No, it's not. Fair is the baseline. Nice is extra. Then most people don't even meet the baseline. That's depressing." "That's reality." He was quiet for a moment, then he said, "You deserve better than baseline, Noluthando." The way he said her name made her stomach flip. Dangerous, she reminded herself. This is dangerous. "We should get back," she said, standing up abruptly. "Big day tomorrow." If Du Hyun noticed her sudden retreat, he didn't comment. He paid the bill and drove her home again. This time, when she got out of the car, he said, "Thank you for dinner." "You paid." "I meant the company." She smiled. "Good night, Duhan." It slipped out without thinking. His first name instead of Mr. Seo. He smiled back, slow and genuine. "Good night, Noluthando." She went inside, feeling like she'd just made a terrible mistake. Or maybe a wonderful one. She couldn't tell which. Day 3 of the summit went perfectly. Every negotiation closed successfully. Every delegate left satisfied. Duhyon's organization had just secured distribution agreements worth billions of won. There was a small celebration in the office afterward. Someone ordered champagne. Director Choi made a toast praising the interpretation team, specifically mentioning Noluthando's leadership. People actually clapped. Even Director Park gave her a stiff nod of acknowledgement. Noluthando felt something unfamiliar. Pride, maybe. Or just relief that she hadn't messed everything up. Duhyun found her as people were leaving. "Can I see you in my office?" Her stomach dropped. That sounded ominous. His office was bigger than hers, with a view of the city. He closed the door behind them. "Did I do something wrong?" Noluthando asked. "What?" "No, the opposite." He handed her an envelope. "Your bonus for the summit." She opened it. 15 million won. "This is too much," she said automatically. "It's 5% of your base salary, which is standard for successful major projects. Actually, it should be more, but HR has rules. I can't accept this." "You can, and you will. You earned it." Duhyun. "You led a team through a complex international summit with 0 mistakes. You prevented at least 2 major conflicts. You made this organization look professional and competent. That's worth 15 million won and more." She didn't know what to say. "There's something else," he continued. "I want to offer you a permanent contract. Not a trial period. Full-time, full benefits, with a clause that guarantees your position for minimum 2 years. Why? Because you're exceptional at this job, and I don't want to risk losing you. You barely know me. It's been 2 months. 2 months is long enough to recognize talent." Noluthando looked at the envelope in her hands, at this man who saw abilities in her that most people missed, at this opportunity that seemed too perfect to be real. "Can I think about it?" she asked. "Of course. Take your time." She turned to leave. "Noluthando," he said. She paused at the door. "I hope you say yes." There was something in his voice, something that sounded like it mattered to him personally, not just professionally. "I'll let you know soon," she promised. That night, she called her grandmother in Zimbabwe. "Mbuya, I need advice." "You always need advice. Tell me." Noluthando explained the job, the money, the opportunity. She left out the part about Dohyun making her heart do complicated things. Her grandmother listened quietly. Then she said, "What are you afraid of? That it's too good to be true? Or are you afraid that it is true, and you might actually deserve it?" Noluthando sat with that question. "You've been punishing yourself for 3 years," her grandmother continued. "Because you had to leave school. Because you couldn't save your mother. Because you think you failed somehow." "Mbuya. Let me finish. You didn't fail. You made choices to help your family. Brave choices. But now you have a chance to help your family and yourself. Why won't you take it? What if I mess up?" "Then you mess up, and then you fix it. But starving yourself of opportunity because you're afraid, that's not wisdom. That's just fear." After they hung up, Noluthando sat in her small room and thought about fear. She'd been afraid for so long. Afraid of being noticed. Afraid of taking up space. Afraid of wanting more than survival. Maybe her grandmother was right. Maybe it was time to stop being afraid. Friday morning, she walked into Duhyun's office. "I accept," she said. "The permanent contract. I accept." He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. "Good. I'll have HR draw up the papers. On one condition." His eyebrows rose. "You're negotiating with me. You said you value honesty." "I do. What's your condition?" "If people here continue to treat me badly because you favor me, I need you to step back. I can't do my job if everyone thinks I only have this position because the boss likes me." Something flickered in his eyes. "Is that what you think? That I only hired you because I like you?" "I think you hired me because I'm good at my job." but other people might not see it that way. Then other people are wrong. That doesn't change how they'll treat me. Duhan came around his desk. Noluthando, look at me. She did. I gave you this job because you're the most talented linguist I've ever met, because you're intelligent, professional, and you work harder than anyone else here. My personal feelings, whatever they might be, have nothing to do with your qualifications. Her heart was racing. What personal feelings? He held her gaze. That's a conversation for another time. Right now, I'm your boss and you're my employee. That's the only relationship that matters professionally. But personally, I think you're remarkable, but I'm not going to pursue anything that might compromise your position here or make you uncomfortable. Noluthando should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt disappointed. Okay, she said quietly. Okay? Professional relationship, that makes sense. It's the right thing to do. I know. They stood there for a long moment, the air between them charged with things neither of them was saying. Finally, Duhan stepped back. Welcome to the permanent team, Miss Maseko. The formality was deliberate, creating distance. Thank you, Mr. Seo. She left his office feeling like something important had just happened. She just wasn't sure if it was good or bad. 3 months passed. Noluthando settled into her permanent role. She led the interpretation team on 12 successful negotiations. Her cultural briefings became required reading for everyone in the international division. Director Choi started inviting her to strategy meetings. She even bought new work clothes. Nothing fancy, but professional. Maya helped her pick out pieces that fit well and made her feel confident. The hostility from some staff members faded. Not completely, but enough. They saw her work, saw her results, and slowly accepted that maybe she deserved to be there. Director Park remained cold, but stopped openly challenging her. Duhan maintained careful professional distance. They worked together constantly, but he never crossed the line. No more late-night dinners, no more personal conversations, just work. It should have made things easier. It didn't. Noluthando caught herself watching him during meetings, noticing small things, the way he listened when people talked, really listened. How he remembered details about staff members' lives, the quiet way he handled problems without drama, and sometimes she'd look up and find him watching her too. Then they'd both look away and pretend it hadn't happened. It was torture. Maya noticed. You're miserable. I'm fine. You like him and he likes you, and you're both pretending you don't. It's painful to watch. He's my boss. So quit and date him. I need this job. Then keep the job and suffer. Those are your options. Noluthando threw a pillow at her, again. In late November, she got another message from an unknown number. Your boss is using you. We can offer better. Meet me at Cafe Orem tomorrow at 3. She showed it to Minjun immediately. He showed Dohyun. Dohyun's face went hard. Did you respond? No. Good. Don't. Should I block the number? No. Keep it. We might need it later. For what? Evidence, if things escalate. That sounded ominous. Do you think they will? Escalate? Du Heihan's expression softened slightly. I think you're valuable, which makes you a target. But we'll handle it. Don't worry. Easy for him to say. 2 days later, she got a third message. This one had a photo attached. Her, leaving Dohyun's car outside her apartment building. The caption read, "Does your boss drive all his employees home, or just the special ones?" Her blood went cold. They were watching her. She showed Dohyun immediately. This time he looked genuinely angry. "This is harassment," he said. "Should I go to the police?" "Not yet. Let me handle it first." "How?" "I'll make some calls. Send a message that you're off limits. And if they don't listen, they will." He said it with such certainty, like he had the power to make people listen. Maybe he did. Noluthando tried to focus on work and ignore the creeping anxiety. Someone was watching her, taking photos, trying to intimidate her or recruit her or something. She started looking over her shoulder on the street, taking different routes home, being careful. Du Heihan noticed. Of course he did. "Has there been more contact?" he asked one afternoon. "No. But you're worried." "Someone is following me. Taking pictures." "Yes, I'm worried. I can arrange security." Absolutely not. That'll just make it worse. How? Then everyone will know I'm important enough to threaten. Right now, maybe they're just fishing. Security makes it real. Du Hehan frowned but didn't argue. At least let Min-jun walk you to your bike at night. That's unnecessary. Humor me. So Min-jun started walking her out. He was nice about it, chatting casually like they just happened to be leaving at the same time. But Noluthando knew it was protection. December arrived with freezing weather and the year's biggest contract negotiation. Du Hein's organization was finalizing a massive deal with partners from 7 countries. Everything they'd worked toward all year came down to this one meeting. Noluthando coordinated the interpretation for 2 weeks straight. She barely slept. The details had to be perfect. The meeting was scheduled for December 15th. 3 days, multiple sessions, millions of won on the line. December 10th. Everything fell apart. Noluthando was eating lunch at her desk when Min-jun burst into her office. Have you seen the news? What news? He turned his phone toward her. The headline read, International Negotiation Scandal. Interpreter accused of deliberate mistranslation. Below it was her photo and audio clips. Noluthando's hands started shaking. What is this? Someone leaked edited recordings. They made it sound like you've been mistranslating on purpose to benefit certain parties. She clicked the article. There were 3 audio samples, each showing her translating something, then a caption claiming she'd deliberately changed the meaning. Her heart sank. The clips were real, her voice, her translations, but they were cut and edited to remove context, making innocent mistakes sound like intentional deception. This isn't what happened, she said. I know. These are edited. I know. Who did this? We're trying to find out. Du Hyun appeared in the doorway. His face was controlled, but his eyes were furious. My office, now. She followed him, feeling like she might throw up. Inside, with the door closed, he said, I know this is fake. Do you? Yes, I was in those meetings. I know what really happened. But the recordings are edited, professionally. Someone wanted to destroy your credibility right before our biggest negotiation. The December 15th meeting. Yes. Noluthando sat down heavily. This is bad. It's a problem, but we'll fix it. How? The story is already out. People are sharing it. Our partners are going to see this. Then we'll prove it's false. How? She repeated. Original recordings, timestamps, evidence of editing. We'll expose whoever did this. That takes time. The meeting is in 5 days. Du Hehan's jaw tightened. I'm not canceling. Maybe you should. If the partners think I've been manipulating translations, they won't trust anything I say. So we bring in other interpreters. On 5 days' notice? For 7 languages? He knew she was right. The meeting was too complex, too important. They needed her. We prove your innocence before the 15th, he said firmly. That's not enough time. Then we work faster. Director Choi joined the investigation. She pulled all the original recordings from the meetings in question. Min-jun analyzed the leaked audio files for signs of editing. Noluthando listened to the clips over and over, trying to figure out what had been changed and why. The media attention got worse. Reporters called her phone. Someone found out where she lived and knocked on her apartment door. Maya had to chase them away. This is insane, Maya said. Who would do this to you? Someone who wants me gone. Your boss's rivals? Maybe, or someone inside the company. That thought had been growing. The leaked recordings were from internal meetings. Someone with access had done this. But who? Director Park was the obvious suspect. He'd hated her from the beginning. But would he sabotage the company's biggest deal just to hurt her? On December 12th, 3 days before the meeting, Noluthando found the first real clue. She was analyzing the edited audio when she noticed something. A tiny sound in the background of one clip. Someone coughing. She enhanced it, played it back. The cough had a word in it, Korean, specific dialect. She grabbed her language notes and cross-referenced. Busan dialect. Whoever edited this recording was from Busan, or spent significant time there. She made a list of everyone in the office from Busan. 4 people, including Director Park's assistant. Now they were getting somewhere. She showed Do-hyun. Look at this. He listened to the enhanced audio. That's Busan dialect. Yes, which means the person who edited this is either from there or learned Korean there. Director Park is from Seoul, but his assistant isn't. Do-hyun's eyes narrowed. Lee. His name is Lee Sang-woo. Can we access his computer? Not legally without cause, but you could do it illegally. I could, but anything we found wouldn't be admissible. I don't need admissible. I need proof. Do Hae-han looked at her for a long moment. You're sure about this? No, but it's the best lead we have. If we're wrong, we've just invaded an employee's privacy for nothing. And if we're right, we stop whoever is trying to destroy me in this deal. He made a decision. I'll have someone check his computer tonight. That night felt endless. Noluthando couldn't sleep. She kept refreshing the news, watching the scandal spread. Business partners were calling Do-hyun demanding explanations. Some were threatening to pull out of the December 15th meeting. Everything she'd worked for was collapsing. At 2 a.m, Do-han called her. We found it. Her heart leaped. Found what? The editing software on Lee's computer. And the original files. He did this. Why? We're bringing him in now. We'll find out. An hour later, Do-han called again. Lee confessed. Director Park ordered it. Noluthando closed her eyes. She'd been right. Park wanted you discredited before the big meeting. He thought if you failed publicly, Do-hyun would have to fire you. Then Park's nephew could take your position. That's insane. That's ambition without ethics. What happens now? Now we go public with the truth. We have Lee's confession, the original recordings, everything. I'm calling a press conference for tomorrow morning. Will the partners believe it? They'll have to. The evidence is clear. But Noluthando knew evidence didn't always matter. Sometimes the scandal stuck regardless of truth. The press conference was brutal. Do-han presented the evidence calmly and thoroughly. He showed the original recordings, proved the edits, explained the conspiracy. Reporters asked horrible questions. How do we know you're not covering for her? Why should we believe you over the leaked evidence? Isn't it convenient that you found this proof right before your big meeting? Do-hyun answered every question with patience. Noluthando didn't know he had. She sat beside him, silent, trying not to cry. At the end, a reporter asked her directly, Miss Maseko, did you ever deliberately mistranslate anything? No, she said clearly. Never. How can we trust you? You can't. Trust isn't given, it's earned. All I can do is continue doing my job with integrity and let my work speak for itself. It wasn't a perfect answer, but it was honest. The press conference ended. Do-hyun's PR team released statements. Director Park and his assistant were fired immediately. But the damage was done. 2 of the 7 international partners pulled out of the December 15th meeting. They said they needed time to review the situation. Do-hyun was losing millions because of her. I should resign, Noluthando said that afternoon. No, I'm destroying your business. Park destroyed this. Not you. But I'm the reason he did it. He did it because he's corrupt and petty. That's not your fault. The partners don't trust me anymore. Some don't, others do. We'll work with the ones who stayed. Do-han. No. He stood up from his desk and came around to face her. You're not quitting. You're not running away. You're going to walk into that meeting on the 15th and do what you do best. What if I can't? You can. How do you know? Because I've watched you handle impossible situations for 4 months. Because you're the strongest person I know. Because you don't give up. His faith in her was overwhelming. I'm scared, she admitted. I know. Do it anyway. December 15th arrived. 5 countries instead of 7. Still significant, but smaller than planned. Noluthando, dressed carefully. Professional clothes, neat hair, confident posture, even though inside she was terrified. The delegates arrived. Some looked at her suspiciously. Others smiled and greeted her warmly. The Kenyan delegate who she'd helped months ago shook her hand firmly. I never believed those accusations, he said. You're too good at your job to need to cheat. It helped, a little. The meeting started. Noluthando translated carefully, precisely. Every word mattered. She couldn't afford a single mistake. 2 hours in, the French delegate said something about shipping percentages. Noluthando translated it accurately. But Duhan's new assistant, the temporary replacement for Park's team, wrote down different numbers. Noluthando noticed immediately. "Excuse me, those numbers are incorrect." The assistant looked annoyed. "I wrote what I heard." "You heard wrong. He said 30%, not 13%. "Are you sure?" "Yes." The French delegate confirmed it. 30%. The assistant corrected the notes, looking embarrassed. It was a small moment, but it mattered. It showed that Noluthando's skills were real, that she caught things others missed, that she was valuable. By lunch, the tension had eased. By afternoon, delegates were asking her cultural questions, trusting her insights. By the end of day 1, 2 of the deals were finalized. Day 2 went even better. The Ethiopian representative brought up a concern about port access. Noluthando translated, then added context about regional politics that helped everyone understand the real issue. The Senegalese delegate made a joke in French. Noluthando translated it, and everyone laughed. Slowly, the room remembered why Duhion had hired her. During a break, Director Choi pulled her aside. "You're doing brilliantly." "Thank you. I mean it. After everything that happened, you could have fallen apart, but you didn't. You're stronger than people gave you credit for. I had good support. You had people who believed in you, but the strength was always yours." On the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. A delegate from Tanzania asked a complicated question about distribution networks. The question was in Swahili, but it referenced a concept that didn't translate directly. Noluthando explained it in Korean, then in English for the other delegates. But she also explained the cultural context, why this particular issue mattered to East African partners, and how to address it respectfully. The Tanzanian delegate looked impressed. "You understand?" "I try," Noluthando said. "No, you really understand. Not just the words, the meaning behind them." Duhayan was watching from across the room. He caught her eye and smiled. That smile made her feel like she could do anything. By the end of day 3, every remaining deal was finalized. 5 countries, billions of won in contracts, everything successful. The delegates left happy. Several gave Noluthando their personal contact information and said they'd request her specifically for future negotiations. When the last person left, the office erupted in celebration. Director Choi hugged Noluthando. Minjun brought champagne. Even staff members who'd been cold to her before congratulated her warmly. She'd done it. She'd survived the scandal and proved herself. Du Hihon found her as the celebration was winding down. "My office?" Her stomach flipped. "Okay." Inside, he closed the door and turned to face her. "That was extraordinary," he said. "We lost 2 countries. We kept 5 and strengthened those relationships beyond what they were before. That's a win. I'm glad you think so." "Noluthando." He stepped closer. "I need to say something." Her heart was racing. "What?" "Watching you this week. Watching you handle everything with such grace and strength. Watching you refuse to give up, even when you had every reason to. I've never been more impressed by anyone." "Thank you." "I'm not finished." He took a breath. "I've been trying very hard to maintain professional distance. To be just your boss and nothing more. But I can't do it anymore. Duhain, let me finish. You're brilliant. You're kind. You work harder than anyone I've ever met. You make everyone around you better just by being there. And somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as just an employee. I started seeing you as someone I couldn't imagine my life without." The Noluthando couldn't breathe. "I know this is complicated," he continued. "I'm your boss. There are power dynamics and professional ethics, and 100 reasons this is a bad idea. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way. So I'm telling you, and if you don't feel the same, I'll accept that, and we'll go back to just professional. But I had to say it." She stared at him. "Say something," he said quietly. "I thought you wanted to keep things professional." "I did. I was trying to protect you, and protect myself, honestly." "From what?" "From wanting something I thought I couldn't have." Noluthando's hands were shaking. "What if I want the same thing?" His eyes lit up. "Do you?" "I've been trying not to. You're my boss. You're rich and important, and you live in a completely different world than me. There are so many reasons this doesn't make sense." "But?" But I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop noticing every little thing you do. I can't stop feeling like maybe, just maybe, this could be something real. Do-hyun smiled, and it was like the sun coming out. So what do we do? I don't know. This is complicated. Everything worth having is complicated. What about work? What about everyone in the office? We'll figure it out, together. What if it doesn't work out? Then we'll handle that too. But I'd rather try and fail than never try at all. Noluthando took a shaky breath. This is scary. I know. I'm not good at this. Relationships, trusting people. I'm not going anywhere. Take all the time you need. She looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd seen her potential when everyone else saw a delivery woman. Who'd defended her, trusted her, believed in her even when she didn't believe in herself. Okay, she said. Okay? Let's try. Whatever this is, let's try. He reached for her hand carefully, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His hand was warm and steady, just like him. We'll take it slow, he said. Figure things out as we go. No special treatment at work. Agreed. And if people gossip, let them. We know the truth. Noluthando squeezed his hand. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it. They stood there, holding hands in his office, and for the first time in 4 months, Noluthando let herself feel hopeful. Before we finish this story, I want to ask you something. If you've made it this far, you're clearly invested in Noluthando and Do-hyun's story. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I post stories like this regularly, and I promise you won't regret it. Now let me tell you how things turned out. 6 months later, Noluthando was leading a negotiation with partners from 9 countries, the biggest meeting of her career. She wore a tailored suit that actually fit. Her hair was styled professionally. She carried herself with confidence that came from knowing she was exactly where she belonged. The negotiation went perfectly. She navigated 3 languages, prevented 2 cultural misunderstandings, and helped close deals worth more than she'd ever imagined. When it ended, Do-hyun caught her eye from across the room and smiled. That private smile, just for her. They'd been officially together for 4 months now. The office had figured it out within 2 weeks, but surprisingly, the gossip wasn't bad. Mostly people just said they'd seen it coming. Director Choi had pulled Noluthando aside and said, "You're good for him. He's been different since you came here, happier." Noluthando had started taking evening classes at Hankook University, 2 courses toward finishing her graduate degree. Do-hyun helped her study sometimes, quizzing her on linguistic theory while they ate takeout in her apartment. Her sister's surgery had been successful. The medical bills were paid. Her father's farm was stable. For the first time in years, Noluthando wasn't just surviving. She was thriving. That evening, Do-hyun took her to dinner, not the cheap barbecue place, though they still went there sometimes. Tonight was fancier, a French restaurant overlooking the Han River. "What's the occasion?" Noluthando asked. "Does there need to be one? You're being suspicious." "I'm being romantic. There's a difference." She laughed. That phrase had become a running joke between them. "Over dessert," he said. "I have something for you." "Do-hyun, we talked about expensive gifts. It's not expensive. Well, not very expensive." He handed her a small box. Inside was a delicate necklace, a simple pendant shaped like a book. "For the linguist," he said, "who taught me that words matter, that understanding each other is the most important thing we can do." Noluthando's eyes filled with tears. "It's perfect. I had one more thing made." He pulled out a second pendant, this one shaped like a key. "This one is mine." "A key? Because you unlocked something in me I didn't know was locked. You made me believe in partnerships, in trust, in letting someone see the real me." She was fully crying now. "I love you," he said simply. "I know it's only been 6 months, and maybe it's too soon to say it, but I do. I love you." Noluthando reached across the table and took his hand. "I love you too, even though you're bossy and you pay for everything, and you never let me win arguments. You win arguments constantly. Because I'm always right." He laughed. "See? Even now you're winning." They sat there, hands linked across the table, and Noluthando thought about how far she'd come. A year ago, she'd been invisible, a delivery woman nobody noticed. Now she was the head of international communications for a major organization. She was respected, valued, seen, and she was loved. Not despite who she was, but because of it. "What are you thinking?" Do-hyun asked. "That I'm happy. Really, truly happy." "Good. You deserve to be." "So do you. Then we're both lucky." He was right. They were. Noluthando had learned that worth wasn't about what you looked like, or where you came from, or what job you had. Worth was about showing up, doing your best, being honest, helping others. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, worth was about finding someone who saw all of you and loved you anyway. She squeezed Do-hyun's hand. He squeezed back. And in that moment, everything was exactly right. The woman everyone had overlooked had become the person everyone depended on. The delivery rider who spoke 5 languages had become the voice that connected countries. The girl who'd been afraid to take up space had become the woman who filled every room she entered, with intelligence, grace, and quiet strength. And the boss who'd been looking for a translator had found something much more valuable. He'd found a partner, an equal, someone who challenged him and supported him and made him better. Together, they were building something real. Not perfect. Real relationships never were, but honest, and strong, and full of possibilities. Noluthando looked out at the Seoul skyline, the city that had felt so foreign 3 years ago. Now it felt like home. And sitting across from her was the man who'd helped her see that she'd been home all along. She just needed to believe she deserved to be there. Thank you so much for staying with Noluthando and Do-hyun's story until the end. If this story touched your heart, made you smile, or gave you butterflies, please subscribe to this channel. I create stories about people who refuse to give up, who fight for their dreams, and who find love in unexpected places. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a story.